think James is more smelly than this mountain of elephant poop, and you might think I'm crazy because I've stopped for a big pile of poop, and if you do, you're obviously not playing the right game, which could win you a trip to Africa. Now, we are on the trail of a massive elephant bull. We haven't had any luck with leopard tracks yet, but hoping to find you this massive bull. Oh, we found another massive animal. What a bonus. We've seen so much this morning already, but we haven't seen a giraffe yet. And this is a big old bull. Thankfully, giraffe are quite relaxed when they see us on foot. And what a bonus. The safari just keeps getting better. And if our luck continues like this, who knows what we may see next. Well, it's decided to move off, and I think so should we, because this elephant has been moving in the same direction, and I'm hoping that we're not too far behind. That dung looks fairly fresh, and as we continue our search for this massive bull, we're going to send you back to Tristan with that herd and the tiny calf.
Well, we are still with the herd, so our little baby has drifted away slightly. We'll try and find it again just now, but we have a very curious sub-adult that has come in. This is a young male, teenage male, and they generally are curious animals. They'll kind of come and have a little look at what's going on and see how we're doing and what we're up to. Leo, you're wondering how long an elephant lives for? Well, it depends in the area that they live and where they are. But here in South Africa, we find that our ellies, because of the lot of trees and bushes and roots, it's very abrasive on their teeth. And so our elephants only live to about 50 to 55 years old. Whereas if you go into the Masai Mara in Kenya, where Brent and Jamie and Taylor are, you'll find that those ellies will live a little bit longer. They'll probably go to about 60, 65, because the grass diet that they have there is far less abrasive on their teeth, and therefore they don't wear their teeth out too early. Now, we saw just now that this little baby ellie was super wobbly and difficult for it to kind of keep up with the parents. Now, Jamie, a few years ago, had the most amazing sighting of a brand new baby elephant like this one having a little tumble.
Oh, goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh, my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh, no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay. All right. Look at Fang gentling it, checking to see it's okay. You see the bonds. Listen to her talking to Fang. Actually, if I'm completely honest, I've got tears in my eyes. That was a truly priceless sighting, with that tiny, tiny newborn elephant tumbling down the hill. It's one that I will look back on fondly for the rest of my life. So you're back now all the way from South Africa to live in the Masai Mara with a very sleeping Malika and her two boys. Now, that elephant moment was truly spectacular, and I remember having tears in my eyes while I watched it. An example of just how the herd bands together to protect the individuals. Of course, Malika doesn't have a herd or a group. She has to do it all on her own. And I think that mothers of teenage boys, or teenagers in general, can relate to sometimes just how much food that process requires. So she doesn't really have to teach them anything. She just has to provide them with the opportunity to learn to hunt. I think I got your name right. I think it was Tobias. You want to know, why do cheetah take longer than other cats to hunt? The answer to that is I don't think that they really do. I think, like all cats or kittens, those of you with domestic cats at home, or you've had them from kittens, you'll know that that instinct to chase is there from very, very early on. So it's just a matter of perfecting the whole process. And cheetah actually have a higher success rate than any of the other big cats. So I don't necessarily necessarily think that they take longer to learn. I just think that it's a different skill set that they have to practice. And because the females are all on their own, and because kills are so often stolen, they really have to provide the opportunities to practice and at the same time keep themselves and their families fed. Well, of course, speaking of the kills being stolen, apart from lions, there is no greater thief to a cheetah's breakfast than a hyena. Let's go and rejoin Noel and see what that lot are up to now.
Jamie, you're so right. Hyenas will steal whenever they can. They have, however, made this kill themselves. We have the little youngster that's busy with the what's left of the carcass here. The adults keep picking it up and moving it, picking it up and move it. One adult in particular, one female in particular, the mother of this youngster here, who I believe is the matriarch of the clan. And this little youngster just came in and pushed off another adult female, which is also why I think that she is the matriarch of the clan. Now, they keep moving on, so I think that we're going to be heading towards the den site soon. I think they're just taking a little bit more time than usual because they want to patrol as they go along and make sure everything's safe. Bringing a carcass to a den is a very tricky business because you're bringing the scent of the meat there and it could attract more predators. So we've got a lot on the go. There's a lot on the move. We are going to quickly carry on with a little special break for you. We'll be back just now. You're going to see a little bit of the back of our car. This youngster, this juvenile here, is the older one. Do you remember in November and early December, we were seeing 3 hyenas? We had the older one, which is this one, and the 2 younger ones, a male and a female. The male disappeared. We're assuming that the male was killed by its sister. And then the female was not looking in good nick, and we haven't seen her since. This one has been doing well. I'm just going to see if I can just roll back a little bit for everybody without scaring her off. All right, that's about what I can do, unfortunately. Because she's younger, she's a little bit more trepidatious about the vehicle. But I think this is the longest we've been able to spend with hyenas here in the Sabi Sands for quite a while. This is really fascinating, amazing behavior we're getting. In between the takes, when we were busy with everybody else, there's a lot of scent marking going on and there's a lot of audio that's going on. So remember, predators are territorial, and so they will mark their territory using olfactory bits, meaning that they put scents out. So hyenas have their anal pasting they put on the ground. This one is just, it's like, this carcass is mine and I'm going away with it. All right. Now Tristan's still with those wonderful Ellies up near Thandi, so I think let's head on over to him so that we can have a view, have a view there.
I am indeed. I'm absolutely loving this little one. It's the cutest little thing, and it's having a grand old time trying to learn. Oopsie, don't get squashed between a tree now. It's having a grand old time learning from everybody and trying to do everything that everybody else is doing. So it's been quite fun, actually, watching this little one go about its business. And there's a rather grumpy, what I think is the matriarch of this herd, who's around. There she is on the right hand side. She actually kicked the baby in the face just now and then came charging towards us and kicked a tree. So she's a little on the grumpy side. I don't know if maybe it's because there's this new addition and there's a bit of kind of unrest in this herd. Right, now let's just kind of catch up with them before we go back into TV. Such a beautiful morning this morning. It's been the first morning where we've seen some sunshine in a long time, so thoroughly enjoying having a bit of sun this morning, and it's been a cracking, rollicking start to the day so far. Lots happening. Has been very, very good this morning. So hopefully it will continue. Hopefully Thandi's going to come out of that thicket and then go towards the cub. That's what I'm kind of hedging my bets on and hoping that that's what's going to kind of play out going forward. But there's a really, really nice view of that little one. You can see it's just having a little suckle and a little drink of milk to make sure that it gets its strength up. It's actually quite amazing to watch how the females will often actually guide those little ones when they're this young to the teats to try and kind of get them into a situation where they get the nutrients they need. Sometimes they'll even pick them up with their trunks when they're first born and try and get them there. So good to see that the little one is suckling. It means that it will only go from strength to strength, and throughout the day it's going to get stronger as it walks around. It's probably going to take a few tumbles as well, but it will be quite fun. Right, well, we're going to go back into TV, so I'm going to stay quiet for the next little bit. Well, welcome back to Cuteness Overload and this live interactive safari. My name is Tristan Dix, and we are sitting in the middle of Africa. Now, there's something happening on the other side of Africa, so let's send you quickly across to Jamie.
We are racing off in the direction away from Malaika, and it just goes to show these are entirely live safaris. So we've been sitting with one very sleepy cheetah when I've just seen a whole pride of lions come sprinting over the ridge, chasing what looked like a type of antelope. It looked like it might have been a hartebeest, like the one that Brent showed you earlier. So we're just covering some distance. Remember, hashtag Safari Live is how you can get hold of us. Oh, we saw this pride yesterday during our live safari. It's the Ridge Pride. I just have to watch the road for a second, otherwise we will fly off. You can just see them up ahead. Lots and lots of antelope around. This is why Malaika's been favoring this area. But at the same time, it's not ideal for her because it puts her right next to one of the biggest prides of the area. There's about 20, possibly even more than 20 lions in this pride. Just see them up ahead. This is exactly where we had them yesterday. I think they might have missed. It looks like... Okay, we're going to send you across. We're going to race across to the lions and see what they're up to. While we do that, we'll send you across and see whether Brent's males have got up yet.
Well, you can see the heads are up, and that's because an old nemesis has risen its head. You will hear other safari vehicles around. The park is open, so there are other people here. But the exact same hyena that was here yesterday is back again and has been following them. It's the female from the Talek clan with the big collar. Remember, this is 100% live, coming to you from the Masai Mara and the Kruger in South Africa. And she's obviously a smart, dominant female hyena. And she knows if she sticks around the boys, there's a really good chance that she's going to get an extra meal for free. And oh, look at that, there's blood on her face. We heard hyenas fighting earlier this morning. Wait for her to turn her head, and we could see there was some blood on her face. Isn't this absolutely incredible? Remember, this is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. There we go. So we heard hyenas fighting a bit earlier. And it's really incredible that she's now come to see if she can get a free meal off the boys. The boys, however, are not up yet. So she's going to wander off and see what happens next. As I said, you will see other vehicles here. And there we go. They're just watching her carefully. I've actually seen them lie 5 meters away from hyena before. Good morning, Maura. Maura would like to know, will a cheetah attack a lion if provoked? I've seen these guys once snarl at a lioness, but no. A big male cheetah weighs about 90 pounds, maybe 100 pounds, where there is a big lioness weighs over 220 pounds. There's no chance for these cheetah to stand up to a lion, and they will run away. Lions kill more cheetah than anything else. There's D'Artagnan, the leader of the musketeers. And Of course, out here in the wild, animals come into conflict with each other all the time, and one of the most interesting things to watch is cat-on-cat action.
While the big cats spend most of their time asleep, their waking hours are often filled with violent conflict for mates, food, and territory. There is no room for chivalry among leopards. This grizzled old male thinks nothing of stealing food from a hard-working young female. The stability of a cheetah coalition's territory is often shattered by a fight for dominance. A lion's size will always deter its hyena cousins. But confronting the clan can shift the balance. Safety is not always found in numbers. Even a pack of wild dogs can fall prey to a stalking lion. This dog and cat debate is over.
There can be no question that the biggest of the big cats out here in Africa are definitely the rulers of this land when it comes to the predators. We are back live with the Ridge Pride. They were unsuccessful in their hunting attempt, but that hasn't been sufficient to dampen their spirits, and they are all going to walk right past our vehicle. Young males, cubs, females, all together. And unfortunately for them, no breakfast yet. Though it takes some seriously hard work to keep the Pride members fed when there are this many mouths to feed, and the ladies are usually the ones who end up working the hardest. Look at this. Remember, this is transpiring live right in front of you. Now, Hunter, you want to know how long lions tend to live. Hunter, it depends on if it's a male or a female. For the males, about a maximum of around about 13 years old, usually a bit less than that. Hi, guys. Walking right past us. This is so cool. Lionesses can live longer than that. They don't live as brutal a life in terms of competing for territory with younger males. So the lionesses can live 14 up to even 16 years of age. Here comes a real little youngster that's going to walk right past us. This is so cool. There's nothing like this. Nothing like this way to spend a morning. Look at this little thing. Hi. All wandering past us. Their hopes are dashed. No breakfast yet. Although you don't look too hungry, do you? No, I think you're okay. I think Mom's been keeping you well fed. So I'm just going to keep my voice down as the cub walks right past. They tend to be a bit more curious. Oopsie. So busy looking at us that you stepped on a thorn. I love it when this happens. The lioness that was actually chasing the animals has moved off. She's resting a little way away from the rest of the pride, but I'm sure they'll make their way back. And now? Sorry, I'm distracted. We've got the last lionesses coming this way, but our little cub has stopped to watch us here on the right. Let's just have a look slowly, slowly, slowly. Hello. What is all this fuss about, Right up next to the vehicles. It's a great opportunity for me to remind you that this is not something that is dangerous to us. Yes, they are wild animals, and yes, we're always watching their behavior, not taking them for granted, but they have grown up with safari vehicles around them, so they don't see us as food, and they don't see us as a threat. Oh, that is spectacular. The lions, when we're in the vehicle, well, that's one thing. But when you're out on foot, that is an entirely different thing. And who better to take you on a walk through the wilds of Africa than the wonderful Mr. Stef Winterboer.
I suppose Jamie's trying her best not to look like a morsel and something tasty to eat for those lions, and I'm trying exactly the same over here as well. Now, with the Winter Olympics just around the corner, it affords me the opportunity to draw some comparisons between my favorite event, the skeleton bobsleigh, with a single person on that bobsleigh going down the track, and some animals and insects that we find around here. Now, a bobsled reaches about 75 miles an hour when it goes down its course, and funnily enough, if a cheetah was the same size as a human, it is exactly the same speed. But when we go down to the micro level, which is actually my favorite part of this of the bush, we get things like the housefly, for instance, common housefly. That flies around at about 800 miles an hour if it was the same size as me. Can you imagine that? And mosquitoes, for instance, fly around about 150 miles an hour if they were the same speed, same size as us. Now look here, we've got a commelina. This is one of my favorite flowers out here, to be honest with you. And the reason for that is that, very similar to a lot of the plants here, they come with a bunch and a host of interesting uses. This particular one, just incidentally, in case you get a housefly in the eye, is very good for a little drop of eye fluid. So there's an eye drop. You can use that in your eye. Not this one that's got a seed. And you're going to need to find a fresher one. But anyway, you can use the juice that comes out of there, you can use for eye drops. Okay, we're going to be sending you just over the rise over there to James, who's at Chitwa Dam with some guests.
Well, I'm just behind the Chitwa waterhole now, sitting with some impala and some elephants, which have miraculously managed to hide themselves. There we go, there they come out. It looks like three young bulls having a little bit of a contretemps with each other over some marula fruits and perhaps just asserting some dominance. Now, please continue to play Safari Bingo with us for the course of today and indeed the next 3 shows after today. Pop along to natgeo.com/Safari Live and you can learn how to play Safari Bingo, and you could win a magical trip for 2 to Africa, yes, Kenya or South Africa with Nat Geo Journeys. Now, the other thing that you can play with us today is called Where Am I? And for this you will win nothing but my undying adulation. This magnificent creature here in front of me, his name is Barry the Buffalo, and he is dead. The game we're going to play, Where Am I?, which we played yesterday, requires of you to tell me where you think this buffalo that we're going to show you now is. And I'll tell you what you're looking for is the size or width of the horns. That's what you're looking for there. You're going to go to the hashtag Safari Live and then hashtag Mara or hashtag Kruger. Do you think that that buffalo, which we'll show you once more now, is in the Kruger or in the Mara? And what you're looking at is the horns. Marvellous. We're going to see if we can catch up with these elephants. Jamie Patterson is sitting with lions that seem to be rather hungry, and I think they've probably got lots to eat there in the Masai Mara, so let's go and find out.
So while they wait to catch up with the elephants, look at what we've got here. We found the lioness that I saw chasing the antelope earlier, and she hasn't given up. The rest of her pride may have, but she has not. She's right flat. Oh, I think she just gave it away. No, she hasn't. The warthog's still there. She's flat to the ground. The warthog knows that there's something wrong, and is just waiting to see what its next move is going to be. I don't know if it's realized just how much trouble it's really in. A big warthog like this is a difficult meal for a lioness. Oh yes, there's a sensible decision. Remember, all of this unfolding live in the Masai Mara of Kenya. He's going to run straight into the male lion. There's a male lion off to the left. I don't know if the male's going to move. He's trotting. Let's keep an eye. I'll keep an eye on the lioness for you while you watch the warthog. I think that warthog's made an escape. A sensible decision. And if we go a little bit further to the left there, you'll see there's the male lion over there. There he is. one of a two-male coalition known as Blackie and Lipstick. Yes, Blackie and Lipstick, you heard me correctly. The 4-kilometer boys. Oh, that warthog's running straight towards him now. Now he's gone straight from one lion into another. Now, Angel, you're wondering the typical story when it comes to lions, if the females do more work than the males. To an extent, when it comes to hunting, only because they have to provide for the cubs. Oh, there goes the warthog. Males not even the slightest bit interested. He's so close. And yet the male is not going to go after him. Males have a tremendously important role to play in a lion's life. They have to keep the territory safe, they patrol, they mark the territory, and as a result they keep intruding males out that could potentially harm their youngsters. So they certainly don't do less work than the females. They are also more than capable of hunting for themselves. But if the females happen to catch a meal, they're not afraid to throw their weight around if they happen to be there, and they'll often steal the vast majority from the females. What's our lioness doing? Let's go back and have a look. She's still watching the antelope, and there's more warthogs on the horizon, so she hasn't given up yet. She's so flat down there that she's actually difficult to spot. She's still further to the right. There we go. You can see she's watching the little Thompson's gazelle, but she'll have to get up earlier in the morning, possibly around when we get up in the morning, to catch out a Thompson's gazelle. Incredibly sharp-eyed, aware little antelope. Is she watching the Tommies? I don't think so. I think she's looking at the warthogs to the right. If we keep going... Oh, wait, what's that? What's that? No, it's a little Tommy. Imagine being an animal out here, being hunted by a lion, and you never know where the other lions might be hiding in the long grass. It's a terrifying prospect. An equally potentially terrifying prospect, of course, is being on foot with some of the bigger animals out here. It sounds like Steph has caught up with his elephants.
I definitely have caught up with these elephants. I've been looking for them for so long, yesterday and today, in actual fact, for most of the shows, and we found what I set out to do. And it's a big bull elephant, enjoying the grass of the summer and enjoying the marula fruit that is in abundance at this particular moment. Now, it is right that these are the most dangerous animals on foot. They're even more dangerous than lion, funnily enough. And we've got to be very careful that we stay with him, but that he's not aware of us. And that's what's going to be our mission, is that I can show you these beautiful elephants, but on foot. Now, Dale, you'd like to know how elephants show their emotions? They actually do it quite extravagantly. They can lift their head, making themselves look much bigger. They open up their ears, they can trumpet, they rip out bushes, they can kick sand, scream and squeal. They really can display a magnificent set of emotions, to be quite honest, unlike something like a buffalo or a dung beetle that really can't do much from an emotional point of view. Now, this elephant has just moved out of our view, coming across us here. We're going to be moving a little bit just so that I can get him in sight. You don't want to lose sight of an elephant. They have a tendency of sneaking up on you. Now, although this elephant isn't very playful at the moment, we have got something that is, and we've been treated to it the whole day with Taylor up in the Mora, 4 countries away. Enjoy that.
Steph, be careful out there on foot. How incredible that you have an elephant on foot. Well, we're in the Masai Mara still with the North Clan of hyenas, and you're very lucky that you've just joined us because these cubs have brought out their favorite toy, and that toy is a stick. You can see they've been chewing on it quite a bit, and every now and then, well, 5 or 6 of them try to grab onto it and pull it in all sorts of different directions. But they be playing quite quietly. Ooh, careful. Sometimes it can turn quite savage, especially with the youngsters, in fact. It depends on their rank. It depends on who their mom is. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that's exactly how it is in a hyena clan. Is that if your mom is higher ranking, you kind of have more of a say. And then they're all picking on that one youngster now. Shame. Must be from a lower ranking hyena. But it is still a spectacular morning out here with all of these hyena cubs. It is so precious. There you go. A few more coming in now. Some of the younger cubs too, you can see that are more sort of completely black in colour. Also being brave and trying to grab onto that stick. And it's important that they chew and pull on things, because as these little hyenas are developing, they're also growing and their muscles need to strengthen. Oh, that's so precious. You missed the stick completely, didn't you? Now, Christine, you've just asked about hyenas and how many cubs they give birth to at one time. They can't have more than 2. I think there's been the odd case of 3 being born, but that's very, very rare. It's normally 1 or 2. They've only got 2 nipples that the youngsters can suckle on. And like we were just saying, sometimes with animals, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and the ranking and the status of a hyena is very important. And when they're born, when they're just tiny and black fluffs, they are quite savage, fighting over the best mammary gland, which is going to produce more milk. And unfortunately, sometimes, actually, I mean, it happens more often than we think, as that one sibling will kill another. So even though they are sweet and precious, they can be exceptionally aggressive with one another, and we see that every now and then. But it's all happy days at the North Clan Den this morning, being entertained by a stick. If only life was that simple. Right, off you go back down to South Africa with James and to see what he's up to.
What he's up to is sitting here in a state of destitution, basically, and that's because I've lost the game. Where am I? You very cleverly managed to figure out that the buffalo we showed you was in fact from the Masai Mara. 86% of you managed to get that right. For those 14%, you can now see the difference between a buffalo in the Masai Mara and in the Sabi Sands or Kruger area. I'm very sad to say that 14% of you need to do a bit more reading, but I really don't like the fact that I lost that game, and so now we are 1-1. I won yesterday, and today you all won. Well done to you. So that is the game, Where Am I? And you saw, of course, in that map that we are 1,600 miles away from where Taylor McCurdy is. A quite astonishing distance to be. Now, let's go right back up there to the north. Jamie Patterson still sitting with what seems to be a tremendously indolent male lion and some slightly more industrious females. That's just the way it is in lion society.
Back in the Masai Mara, all the way from South Africa. Isn't it amazing that you can do that in the blink of an eye? We're still with our lioness, and she still hasn't given up on the idea of getting some breakfast before it gets that little bit too hot out here, before the sun properly breaks over the horizon.
I'm assuming we're off air.
So she's been watching the family of warthog. I don't think she's after the gazelle. I think she's been keeping an eye on the various warthog that have been trotting backwards and forwards, and that's what I think she's thinking about. In the course of my time out here, having been privileged enough to watch a number of these hunts, I have found that warthog make some very strange decisions in terms of where they go and which direction they move in. Now, although the warthog have slowly disappeared over the ridge now, I've seen them turn around and come straight back into peril on more than one occasion. Though it just depends what this lioness is going to do, and of course what the warthogs do. Let us see. I wasn't exaggerating at all. I have seen warthog make some very strange decisions. So, phew, we are now in our TV ad break, so we can take a deep breath and recover ourselves ever so slightly, which is more than we can say for the poor warthogs who are, there we go, look, see, straight back again, straight back. What is it that goes through their minds? Is it better the lion you see? I suppose that makes sense, but I don't think they've really realized. I don't think this, now it has. Now it's seen that something's wrong. No, maybe not. Maybe it's the lay of the land. Oh, we're trotting back again because the male's sitting upright and very clearly visible. So maybe the warthogs think that this is a safer place to be. They are, in fact, sorely mistaken. Oh? Did you see a lion? Something's funny over there. I'd better walk straight towards it to investigate. Looks like a young male to me at this distance. I haven't wanted to move at all, just in case we interfere in any way. I don't want to startle the warthog. I don't want to startle the lioness or cause her to move and look towards us. Now remember that this is a compressed shot, so it's not as close as it looks through the eyes of the camera. Actually, the warthog's probably around about 30 meters, 30 feet, 30 meters, sorry, away from our lioness. I think. It's hard to gauge for me as well. We're quite far away. But you can see what I mean about the strange decisions warthogs seem to make. They walk crisscross backwards and forwards, and it seems to be just what the lioness waits for. Those other little pigs on the right, I think they are. Careful, little pigs. Oh dear. Warthog's now walking closer and closer, closing the gap for the lioness. And closer again. Oh, no, wait, we've turned around. Oh, panic, and we're going in the opposite direction. Nope, there's more warthogs emerging, though. Something's not right. I smell lion, but I can't see lion. Little piglets dashing off with their tails in the air. And the lioness just watching. Perhaps it's that feeling of a combination of the fact that they can smell the lioness and the hairs on the back of their necks standing up, knowing that they're being watched. Little waving tails disappearing over the ridge. She wasn't quite close enough to make her move. Oh, we've got a topee as well. Everybody wants to walk in front of this lioness. It's a veritable fashion parade. Oh, now the topee's panicked because of the pig. The other thing that's happening is the topee are going into their breeding season. So they are completely distracted by the idea of chasing other males around. Okay, where to look? The male appears to have gone completely flat, the male lion, so let's stick with our lioness. Oh, and she's up. Warthog hunt abandoned. Now she's just going to find herself... Oh, hold on. Yeah, just finding herself a comfier position. No longer in the crouched stalk. She's no longer trying to remain invisible. She's settled down. That, of course, could change in a heartbeat. If she hears those warthogs coming back over the ridge. But for now, the hunt is over. Oh, Topee, you're going to come running straight back across her path. But I think they would have seen her now. Okay, I have a really spectacular, very exciting news. Tristan, the leopard whisperer, well, I don't even need to tell you what he's done, because he's done it again.
Well, indeed we have. Look at how cool this is. So Thandi has come down and into this drainage line, and the little cub has popped out and is now having a good suckle. How cute is that little thing? So it is only about 3 months old. It is really, really cool. I absolutely love spending time with this little one. It is super cute and so naughty too. It just runs away all the time. Right, we're going back into TV, so I'm going to keep quiet for the next little bit. Well, welcome back to this live interactive safari, and we couldn't have had a better moment to come back because look, this female leopard has come down into a drainage line and has found her tiny little cub, and they are busy having a little bit of a groom. So after the female is eaten, she's come back and she's providing a little bit of milk and motherly care to this tiny little one. How cute is that? This is as good as it gets. Oh, look at that. Now this little one is very playful. It's about 3 months old, and it's a little female, but it is very playful. It likes to run and jump all over mom, so hopefully we're going to see the two of them playing together. At the moment, it's just hidden behind that bit of grass because, well, it's a very, very tight spot and very thick. It's the perfect place for a mom to hide her cub, especially with these males moving around. It's the best area for her to kind of hide them because it's going to be very difficult for anything to find them in here. Now, Djuma, you want to know when will Thandi stop nursing this little cub? Well, probably at around about 7 to 8 months is when they are completely weaned and onto meat. But this little one is already starting to feed off carcasses, so it has tasted meat already and has taken its first few nibbles, but it prefers milk. It would rather come and eat mom or drink mom's milk. Look at that little face, though. You see the size of the ears are still very big. Their cute little eyes. It is really such a sweet little cub, and this is why it's so important for Thandi to be on top of her game and to be really aware of what's going on around her. And it's important that she's catching food because this is, well, the next legacy that she's going to leave behind. And because it's a little female, it should theoretically stay in this area, and means that we're going to get more views of this tiny little cub going forward, and hopefully it'll grow up into the next queen of Djuma. And you can see what I was saying about it being naughty. It runs around all over the place, so it's left mom there and has now run through the thickets and gone to another side. I'm sure it will come back just now. It often does this. And so while we wait for her to kind of come back towards mom, let's send you back across to Steph with the largest land mammal on foot.
Just as special as that cub is on foot, with a vehicle with Tristan, an elephant is on foot. We're still with this massive bull elephant. He doesn't know we're here at all. And we're within 50 yards of him at the moment. It's nerve-wracking. I'm excited. I've got a lot of adrenaline coursing through my body. We're in the gravity of the largest land mammal on Earth. And I can almost feel his presence. Now at some point he will become aware of us, but I'm hoping that I can skirt the edges of that. I'm whispering because elephants kill a lot of people every year. And what I'm trying not to do is disturb this elephant at all. Right now, completely oblivious to us. Here he walks off in that direction, just snacking as he goes along. Come towards me. Here we go. Now, wind direction is very important when you're with elephant. At your feet. And because we're so close, any little sound, breaking a branch, snapping a twig, will give us away. It's just awesome. Now he's moving into a grove of marula trees, and I'm hoping that he stops under one of them to feed. While he carries on, we're going to look for a safe place. We're going to stay with this elephant. You're off to James, who's got a nice toy to play with.
There's something about elephants that creates a connection with the wilderness, especially if you're viewing them on foot. So although Steph is being very careful, he's also having one of the most profoundly naturally connective experiences a human being can have. These elephants, as they were yesterday, are eating marula fruits, delicious marula fruits. And I'll try and give you one during the course of the show, tell you what it tastes like. Now we're nearing the sort of final moments of our second live safari. Remember, we have another 3 after this one. And what I'd very much like to know from you is who won today, in your opinion, Kruger or Mara. So go to the hashtag Safari Live, and then you can hashtag Kruger and hashtag Mara. Tell me who you think won. Yesterday, you disappointed me greatly by telling me you thought the Mara won, which I thought was a load of nonsense myself. Now, Stephen, you're wondering if I've ever been charged by an elephant. Stephen, I have. Almost always, a charge from an elephant, well, apart from being utterly terrifying, is the fault of the human being involved. Now, in fact, if we go to the right-hand side, there's a fascinating little situation playing out. This elephant in front of us is the matriarch of this herd. And I know that because she's the biggest female and because she is standing between us and the herd. And her eyes and her body language, you see she's lifted her head up, are just saying, don't come any closer, please. She's turned her trunk towards us, she's smelling us, she does not like the smell of human being. I don't like the smell of human being much myself either. And she's just put herself in a defensive position. So if we were to push this elephant to the extent that we were not listening to her warnings that she's giving us now, then we could induce some sort of a charge. But she's not a naturally aggressive creature. No animal out here is naturally aggressive unless they've had some kind of trauma. Now there's a bit of conflict going on between these two elephants here. Let's just see what happens. It's a young bull going towards the big matriarch. That's quite interesting. That's a very unusual thing to see. In fact, that young bull is testing whether she's ready to mate, whether she's an estrus. Got a Mrs. Robinson situation forming over here. Now, normally, of course, a matriarch of an elephant herd like this would not put up with this sort of attention from a bull. But I think she's very clearly an estrus. You can see there, she's urinating. That will often happen in estrus, and he's smelling. There's some really quite romantic scenes going up here as we are into the month of love, of course. But he's a bit young to be mating. Now, as I said, normally a matriarch will not put up with the attentions of a young animal like that. And Jamie Patterson, who is something of an elephant whisperer, had a, well, pretty scary experience the other day with a matriarch and a young bull. Have a look.
We often speak about the fact that what upsets elephants is other elephants. Looked a little bit painful, but she never used the full might of her strength. She just conveyed her lack of appreciation for a lack of self-respect for her personal space. That incredible moment just reminded me, or served to remind me, how unbelievably powerful elephants truly are. And of course, not quite as equally as powerful, but a magnificent animal to see in the wild is the male lion, just like that. Okay, quickly, off you go to Taylor. She's found something exciting.
You won't believe what we just had. We're looking at a black-backed jackal, and if you were watching yesterday, we had a pair of them. Actually, we had 3 of them in the beautiful golden light. Now, I couldn't work out what was going on. The impala were going ballistic. The topi were running around. They were snorting. I couldn't understand. And then it was chasing after this herd of impala. I wonder if there's some young impala lambs in there. Now, we're looking at that jackal, and yes, it is a predator. They do scavenge, they eat a bit of fruit, they eat a little bit of everything. But they're also incredible hunters, and they're known to take impala lambs, young Thompson's gazelle, young topi, and I don't know, I can't believe it was trying to chase that whole herd of impala around. It's settled down now for the moment, but that big impala ram that you saw just a minute ago, that fellow with the nice big horns, I wonder if he maybe gave that jackal a little bit of a rev, because he did stop and sort of say that I'm not tolerating any of that nonsense whatsoever. But I'm hoping that jackal is going to run in the direction again of those impala. Now, like hyena, like wild dogs, jackals, they're all built for stamina, so they can't necessarily run as fast as a cheetah, like what Jamie and Brent had earlier. However, they can keep that speed up for quite a distance, and then I think it was actually trying to separate one of the youngsters again. But we'll keep an eye out on this jackal and see if it's going to be sly and sneaky and maybe loop back around after those antelope. However, some exciting things are developing with Jamie's lions. Let's go and see if they're up to catching another meal.
I don't think they're up to catching another meal, but I did want to rush you quickly across because what Taylor was seeing a little bit earlier is an opportunity to view jackals as not just scavengers. So we were actually watching this big male lion walk towards the female. Now, it's difficult to tell at this point if there is the potential for romance developing here, although I suppose romance is quite a strong word where lion courtship is concerned. But if this female is coming into estrus or into heat, then this male is going to guard her jealously, possibly even up against his coalition member. So they are the dominant male lions of this particular pride, of which this female is one, known as the 4-kilometer boys, with a Z. And there they are, two magnificent male lions in their prime. He is limping quite painfully, so he seems to have abandoned his pursuit of the female for now and is enjoying a morning snooze. So while our lions sleep until they decide whether or not they're interested in each other, I just have to send you back across to the leopard whisperer of Djuma, who is with the lovely Thandi and her little furball.
We are indeed, and it is cuteness overload at the moment. Mom and cub are having the best game. The little one is on its back and clawing at mom, and they jumping up and down. There you go, look at that. Yeah, it's attacking mom. Now, these are all really important games for later in life when it's going to have to hunt and defend itself. So it's practicing now, and even though mom is so much bigger, look how gentle she is with the little cub, and you can see a perfect size comparison of the paws there, which is very cool, how far this cub has got to go. This is amazing. Tuna catch you wondering if it's normal for leopard cubs to be this naughty. Well, most leopard cubs are very playful when they're about this age, but this particular cub is very naughty. So over the last few months of us following her around, we've noticed that, well, she doesn't listen to mom very well at all. So when mom calls, she often just goes the opposite way, and it is constant playtime when mom is around. Mom's ears get pulled, her whiskers, her face gets bitten, tummy gets bitten. So it is quite a playful little female, this, and she's got a lot of attitude. So it's an incredibly special thing to follow a leopard cub, but this particular one has got such a soft spot in all of our hearts because of the way that it is and because of how playful and boisterous and just how kind of strong the bond is between these two. It really is a special thing, and this little one is the best thing. And you can see, look how much it's still got to grow. Thandi's paw is the same size as its entire head. This is so cool. Oh, we are being spoiled this morning. To get a glimpse into the secretive, shy nature of a leopard with her cub and the playing and the intimate moments is such a privilege. This is as good as it ever gets out here in Africa, and we are being thoroughly spoiled. And it's why we're so concerned about what's going on with these males coming in, these new males, because, well, this is the prize. This is what is being protected. And so our dominant male really needs to step up. Jam, you're wondering how Thandi will teach her cub to hunt. Well, these games that you're seeing here are part of that process. So this little cub jumping around and grabbing her tail, grabbing her ears, those are all techniques it's going to use when it's hunting. Also, what you'll find with this little cub is that it will actually stalk. So it will walk along, and then it will stalk Thandi, and then it'll jump on her. So games are part of it. And then as it gets a little older, Thandi's going to take this little cub and move it along with her, and she's going to actually watch Thandi chase and stalk things. Also, when Thandi is away and hunting and the little cub is left by herself, like it was this morning when we saw Thandi up in the tree, you'll find that this little cub is going to chase francolins, lizards, other kinds of birds, and eventually it will hone its technique like that. So it's got a long way to go, but it will learn from all kinds of different things, but mostly from watching mom. Right, now there's been a competition about Kruger and Mara, and well, I'm biased obviously, but quite frankly I don't think we can beat anything to do with Kruger when you've got a tiny little leopard cub like this. But let's send you back over to James to find out who the winner is.
Now, it would seem that you agree completely with Tristan there. 80% of you, possibly because I said I would shout at you if you didn't agree with us, said that the Kruger won today. That makes me very happy indeed. Sorry, Sabi Sands. Sucks to you. These are magnificent dwarf mongoose, and while you look at them, they're tiny little things the size of rats, but they're the smallest members of the order Carnivora, in which, of course, all the lions and leopards and cheetahs that you've seen today also belong. While you look at them, Let me remind you, please, to keep playing Safari Bingo. We've got 3 more shows after this one, and Safari Bingo continues for all 3 shows. I'll announce the winner at the end of Thursday evening's show. You go to natgeo.com/Safari Live and learn how to play Safari Bingo, and you could win a magnificent trip for 2 to Kenya or South Africa with Nat Geo Journeys. Wouldn't that be quite fun? Now we are just waiting to see if these mongoose don't go for a little walk. But while we do that, let's go back up to the Masai Mara to Brent Leo Smith, who's going to be devastated that he is not the winner. He is the most competitive person on planet Earth. So go and ask him about his feelings.
Well, I'm sure Master Henry is gloating the fact that the Kruger won this live show, but we won yesterday and there's still 3 more to come. And don't worry, the Mara is going for gold. We will leave Djuma and the greater Kruger in our dust in the next 3 days. Don't you worry about that. And here we are with our lead athletes, the 5 male cheaters, the musketeers, and I'm sure they're going to bring home the gold for us as we carry on this epic live journey through 2 of the most incredible wildlife destinations in the world. But congratulations, I do submit that Tristan's leopard whispering came to fruition. And speaking of Tristan, and the leopard whisperer himself is still with that gorgeous leopard and her tiny cub.
Well, Brenty, I think it's going to snow here in Africa because you've admitted defeat for the first time ever since I've known you. But it is very difficult to compete with the cuteness that is that and the baby elephant that we've had this morning. So it's amazing to just have the 2 different places together, to have Kenya and to have Sabi Sands and have the kind of differences between them and have the most amazing sightings in both is really special. But look at this. This is ridiculous. There's just serious play games going on. Caitlin, you're wondering if leopards normally only have 1 cub. So no, Caitlin, they can have between 1 and 3. There has been recorded cases of 4, but here in Africa, generally it's more along the lines of 1, 2, or 3. The average for this particular area is normally 2. But because Thandi is starting to become an older female, she's now in her 12th year of living, that means that often the older females do tend to have less cubs. So having 1 is not unheard of, and it does happen quite often. Her previous 4 litters were all 2 cubs, so she managed to successfully raise 1 of every single one of those litters. Unfortunately, she lost 1 in her previous 4 as well. So she's kind of done really well, and maybe this 1 by itself will last and will survive. But she certainly is a really caring mother, and she's phenomenally good with this cub. You can see there's a lot of love, a lot of passion, a lot of care for this little cub. The fact that she's entertaining these games and not getting grumpy with the little one just shows. And this is one of the first times that I've actually seen Thandi looking happy playing with the little cub. So it's really very special to be here and to watch what's going on. Now, Gillian, you're wondering if this little cub has a name yet. So no, Gillian, it doesn't have a name just yet. It's still a little bit on the young side. Normally when we start to give our leopards names and ID kits, it's when they're around a year old, and that's because we know that their chances for surviving is much better. There's still a lot of risks involved for this little cub. We've been talking about these new male leopards that are coming into the area. We've got hyenas, we've got lions, we've got snakes, birds of prey, and so it's still a really dangerous time for this little cub. It's got to grow a lot more until it's going to be able to fend for itself and survive. And so that's why we don't assign a name to them just yet. We wait for them to get a little older when we know that it's more likely that they're going to survive and to make it into adulthood. But look at that. I think the tail is now the new game, and you'll actually see Thandi will move her tail. You see how it wiggles it like that? So we were addressing how she learns how to hunt. Well, Thandi's almost mimicking a moving animal by wagging her tail, and the little cub can then pounce on it and grab it and bite it. And also, it's a lot bushier on the tail, so it probably doesn't hurt as much. Dory, you say this is amazing. Well, Dory, I can promise you that these are one of the highlights I've had of a leopard and her mom. It really is special to be in the den to be able to see this. So I hope that you've thoroughly enjoyed it. And remember that this is only our second of 5. We do still have 3 more broadcasts coming, and so we have a situation where we're going to try and follow Thandi over the next 3 episodes, and we're going to try and see what's going to happen. Are new males going to show up? We know that there are males around. We want wonder if the dad is going to arrive. And then obviously Thandi's got to try and protect this cub and nurture it over the course of the next few months. And so we're going to try and follow her steps in every single way as we go forward in the next week. Now, it's that time, unfortunately, though, where we're going to be finishing up for today. And so it's been an absolute pleasure from all the presenters in the Mara and here in South Africa. And remember that the story is only just starting. We're going to be continuing following all of these amazing animals over the course of the next 3 nights. So we'll see you all every evening at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.